Kia ora koutou, haere mai o tutahi. Hello everyone and good afternoon. Welcome to Christchurch, Aotearoa, New Zealand, where we are today here at the 2023 New Zealand Ultimate Championships. My name is Kelsey Bielik.
And my name is Richard Harris, and we welcome you to a very surprisingly windy Christchurch, blowing from left to right on your screen. It's been a heck of a day, hasn't it, Kelsey?
It has been. We're at the fields. We'll see how this game goes, but it seems to have had maybe not bad luck, but definitely longer games running well over short cap, and with this matchup, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if that happens again.
Two undefeated teams, two teams that actually fought last year in the final. So we expect them to actually have quite a serious battle to really decide who will place at the top of this pool and secure all-important seeding for the quarterfinals.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, a very exciting matchup, and a matchup that we saw in the finals last year. Here, it's still in pool play. So Nexus from Wellington, hailing from windy Wellington, the country's capital, while Blueberries, coming off of WCC World's Championship as a club, hailing from Auckland. Two really strong teams. We've got Worlds players, a lot of depth and a lot of experience across both teams as well. Interestingly, checking out the rosters, Wellington is sending a bit of a shorter roster. There's 15 players here at this tournament, where Auckland has sent a bit more depth, a few more players on the team.
Indeed, but it's a very, very strong roster, even if it isn't very long. Got highlights include Nikki Bertez, Becca Neal, Mara Neal, Stacey Mather, Ollie Judd. These are all players who have been excellent throughout the years in New Zealand Ultimate. I look forward to seeing them play again.
Absolutely. So it'll be an exciting matchup. Players, of course, hailing from the Auckland region, who recently came back from World's Championships. We've got Emma Menzies, Meg Armstrong, who was recently playing in the States briefly, Melody Young, all strong players in their own right as well, and what's set to be a good matchup. Interestingly, Blueberries had a bit of a hiccup earlier in the year. So I think really fighting through that. While they were such a strong seed coming in, they didn't perform quite as well as they previously had in the regional qualifiers. Instead, taking the mixed, the wild card slot to qualify for the national championships. Div 1 here.
Bit of a delayed start because of some of our late running games we've had earlier on today.
So you guys get the treat of seeing Nexus in their warm-up, just playing a bit of mini over here, getting ready and warmed up for the game. We've got, meanwhile, Blueberries getting into their element, doing a bit of a boogie, shaking their hips. We've got some players with interesting backgrounds on the team. I think Crystal Chan is Sweeching Tan, with a background in hip-hop dancing, and definitely bringing that energy, those vibes to the team on the New Zealand women's team Whaitiri. So really shaking off any dust, shaking off any cobwebs, getting the energy right, getting in their own minds to make this game their own game.
They have played two games, but it's been a very long day, as everybody who's played Ultimate for several hours in a single day will find out.
Absolutely, and you'll see maybe some warmer layers on, especially for those players coming down from the north. The sun is out, it's beautiful conditions. You know, some people say that playing Frisbee in the heat is a bit much. So there's a nice, the temperature is lower to keep players cool. The wind will definitely be a bit of a formidable opponent for both teams this game. You know, I like to say there's always three teams on the field. You know, there's one, there's the other, and then the wind is that constant defensive player just messing things up.
We have seen it affect greatly, especially the previous match between Ellipsis and Bandits, where despite several points going against the wind with very, very deep hucks, once that wind accelerated just a couple more kilometers an hour, all the points were scored down with the wind.
And something I think that we'll be seeing today, the team that ends up doing the best in this tournament, the team that ends up coming away with the win, will likely be the team that has the throws that can slice through those winds. Now there's handlers, there's players on both teams that have no issue, who don't bat an eyelash. Even though the wind might be batting their eyelashes, they're not batting an eyelash at the wind. Players like Mara Neal with Nexus, who has hucks, as if, you know, they were completely calm conditions. She could be playing in a hurricane, and her throws are no less smooth and buttery. And the same depth and handling strength. Melody Young is one of the main handlers on the team, has some powerful throws, again, regardless of the conditions. So we'll see how this wind, how these conditions might impact people's games. We might be seeing some more zone throws, zone defense coming out. But I think the team at the end of the day who can shake off that wind, unlock those zones, is the team that might be coming out on top.
Absolutely, and it's just a simple touch will affect everything. If you can get a single fingertip to the disc in these sorts of conditions, it will go flying no matter to which player. And it's about following up that disc as best you can. If you can manage to get a decent bid on it, get a decent dive in place, and retain the disc for your side, it could change the matchup entirely.
And there's a lot of trust that goes into that as well. The handler throwing to the receiver, and what receivers they have available. Here we're seeing Blueberries finishing up their cheers, trying to enhance those connections, that team bonding, which they've continued from the World Championships. Meanwhile, Nexus, a very experienced team with, years of experience under their belt as a club, with these formed connections, tried and true, as well, to be able to trust each other in the wind. A lot of really cool to see up-and-coming talent as well. Some players from U20s, U24s teams representing Aotearoa New Zealand on the world stage as well.
Frisbee, do we have a disc?
We've got Nexus starting on defense, looking for a disc. Seeing Blueberries finishing up with their cheer there, keeping that energy high. Bringing the energy to the game. Mara Neal carrying the Frisbee to start the game off on defense. Blueberries, meanwhile, lining up to receive the Frisbee on offense. Discussing what they'll do, how they'll be responding. Of course, that could be responding to the defense. One thing that I might expect, having played with a few of these players with Nexus in the past, potentially starting off on a zone defense. Really great way to keep offense on their toes, so throw something different right off the bat, and maybe get 1 or 2 points under your belt. Throwing something different, again, right in the very beginning, before you're warmed up, that the other team needs to adapt to. We'll see if I'm right or if they've gone down in a match. Nexus running down there, chasing after the pole from Mara Neal, and setting up in what looks like is a loose zone defense.
Quick movement of the disc around there to start us off here.
In person, I was just joking, in person defense.
Indeed. Side to side, back to front, just trying to split apart this zone.
Meanwhile, Blueberries setting up in a horizontal stack there. Opening up options. Downfield, we've got Whitlock running the midfield there.
Nice couple of passes through the middle as they seek to get closer to their eventual goal.
And as I mentioned, the team that's most confident and calm in the wind, I think, is the team that's going to come out on top. Blueberries right away, right off the bat, showing that the wind is posing no issue for them to fully swing the disc, and not just for the handlers, but for the cutters downfield. Stoppage of play, and they're continuing on with Ella Lamb, disc in hand.
And even just that display of confidence can change what their opposition does to try and sort everything out.
And what a beautiful point it is. Melody Young in the end zone, Meg Armstrong with the assist.
Lob a pass perfectly into space. Nice little corner route to the back of the end zone.
And this is something that Blueberries do so well. The clean passing that they put into place, finding those open options. I'm consistently impressed with the entire team. Using all the players on the field, they really work collectively as a team. While there definitely are superstars in the roster, their ability to really use everyone and everyone's ability to stand up under pressure and complete, the challenging passes that other teams might find, upwind, downwind, spreading the field. And here there's so much trust across the team. You see that exemplified in that beautiful point.
Agreed, and they'll be very happy to get an extremely quick strike on the board just 2 minutes in.
Oh, and what a fake. I just love that there. Elisa Young on her toes trying to stop all options, but thrown around with some strategic and impressive fakes. We've got Blueberries now with the disc. I believe Emma Menzies ready to throw the pull.
Waiting for the call from Nexus. Here it comes. And up into the wind we go. It's a pretty decent pull considering the conditions.
Nexus coming down on offense.
Starting a lot closer to halfway than Blueberries will have wanted. But pretty acceptable given the conditions. They're looking to try and cut it inside a little bit.
Bridget Forsyth looking for the swing to Bodis. Oh, and what a beautiful pass, opening up the field. Unfortunately, the wind is taking it too far for Judd.
Just got caught and went a bit too far.
And
It wasn't a case of a lack of communication. I think there was more of a sort of unspoken agreement that there would be a slight shift, more downfield, and just the wind took it and went further than anyone expected.
This is something we've seen across a few games. Players that are normally really competent catchers. A bit of an issue there with Blueberries 2 in a row. Then the wind, and that's cold fingers coming into play, just making it a bit more difficult to bring the disc in. Nexus with another chance. Coming out, Lucy Parsons with the disc. Don't believe what you might read. She's not a Neil, although it's an impressive pedigree, family with a lot of Frisbee talents. Pickering in the handler space. Back to Bodis. An anchor of sorts for the team with her strong handling skills, agilities, and ability to open up the field.
Just looking to retain the disc as best they can.
And interestingly, Blueberries now with the zone coming down immediately, forcing the turnover with their pressure in their handler space. We've got Judd on the mark. Judd famous actually for her hand blocks. We'll see if she can sneak one of those in today, especially among the talented throwers across the Blueberries. O'Leary with the disc. Last season, actually a player with Nexus. Now shifted up to Auckland. Menzies, Rollman on the mark.
Love little drag cuts, trying to make something happen.
Yeah, strong defense there.
Fighting for the disc there.
Resulting in the turnover. That was some great handler defense, just shutting down options. Parsons with the disc again. High release downwind backhand.
Leaving this middle clear for people to cut into. Ollie Judd.
Oh, and great movement. Judd taking it out of the sky there. And looking for options. Parsons to Bodis. And Bodis over the top, opening up the field there. What a point in the safe hands of Zara Bowen.
Great catch, great play.
Zara
waiting for the right time to come get a deep shot into the right at the back of the end zone. Easy spot.
Zara Bowen, great catch there. An up-and-coming young talented player. Definitely a player to keep an eye out for in the New Zealand ultimate scene. Potentially international ultimate scene moving ahead.
Sat right in the back, deep there, just made a simple cut across.
And great spirit from Anna Dolan too. Hands up in the air indicating that it was indeed a point. We are 1-1. The score is tied at the very beginning of the game from two powerhouse clubs of women's ultimate in Aotearoa, New Zealand.
Wind just starting to gust up on us again. Perfectly timed for a ball.
Neil with the disc, and as mentioned previously, there are two Neils on this team. We've got Mara and her sister Becca as well. This player with the disc now is Mara Neil, ready for the pull. Meanwhile, the Blueberries waiting to receive on offense.
Just taking their time to discuss a bit of tactic beforehand.
The disc is up. Slicing through despite the big headwind, Armstrong
It sits
picking
up
up.
perfectly, allowing Nexus to get there well in advance of the defense.
Threading through to Charlesworth, and that's a missed pass there. to Emma Whitlock. Lynch with disc in hand, trying to find that open option. Rebecca Neal with the space, throwing some big fakes, finding Lynch again. Great coverage by Ella Lamb there, covering that swing. She's jumping back and then just jumping them when they're making that look. Impressive work in the zone. Nexus looking unflustered despite the pressure.
Blueberries just have one deep back looking for a long shot, but I think they're much more concerned with the underplays.
Neal faking the lefty backhands with Lynch coming around. Neal looking upwind. She wants to force the disc to the high side of the field. Larry faking that massive swing, finding a way through. Have they unlocked it? Have they unlocked the zone? Can't quite convert. Unfortunately, Young can't put a hand on it. She's leaning backwards, and Blueberries get another chance on offense. Nice handler movement. Lee, Armstrong, Whitlock in the handler space here.
Good dunk. Charlesworth is just in play.
And launching it deep. Wins takes a hold of it and pushes it a bit further, not quite within the reach of Elise Matthews.
It was a bold strike, just didn't pay off this time.
She was looking for that. She was reaching for it. I think even if she launched her body in the air, it would have been just a bit too far.
There's another case of just that wind taking a little bit further than anyone expected.
Lynch with the disc with a tight zone, really tight zone around there. Lots of fakes. Neal throwing. Lynch back to Neal. Opening up over the top to Young. Love those blue tights. Fully repping the blue there. Lots of fakes from Nexus right now. Trying to open up the space and lead the mark into stepping aside new areas. Bogatsky with the disc. Once more. Toya, a very experienced player. Looks like there was a travel. She took a few steps back. Back to Neal.
Directing traffic from the back.
And the Neal sisters opening it up, moving it to O'Connor, trying to open up the field, just waiting for the option to show up, waiting for the defense to move aside so they can slice it through, thread the needle, find that open pass. We've got Becca with the disc, finding her sister Mara. Mara pointing, she wants to huck it deep, she wants that option. Oh, she throws the inside out. What a great pass. Push pass, it looks like. Back to Neal, back to Neal. Trying to move the mark with those fakes. Swing to Lynch. Lynch back to Becca Neal. Through to Mara. Neal. Handlers really patiently waiting for the options here. Faking the hammer. Oh, that would be fun to see.
There's been a couple of deep options that just haven't really paid off, that the Blueberries are trying their best to cover.
Again, impressive patience here. What a hand on the disc there. Maybe not enough patience. Blueberries, that got a rise out of the sideline crowd there. Screaming, let's go.
Oh, Lamb just getting a little bit of a handshake up. Did a good job.
Armstrong with the disc. Swing to the middle, back to Armstrong, who can't hold on to it. And Nexus is off to the races right away.
Connor back to
no
Neal.
time to wait.
So this handler group just keeps getting a hold of the disc. If they can move it down, they give her a point.
Pushing it to the high side. O'Connor looking for Mildenhall for the points. Mildenhall, such an experienced downfield receiver, and especially in conditions like this when it's windy, when hands might be cold. She has such safe hands wherever the disc might be. And someone you can definitely trust when throwing a swilly outside in backhand. like O'Connor put over the top there.
Ultimately, it was just the retaining of possession for such a long time, I think, did it to Blueberries on defense. Started to make a couple of mistakes, started to lose a couple of their opposition numbers.
Oh, and what a hand block. Yeah, Emma Doyle, celebrating on the sideline there. I'm sorry, that was Anna Dolan. Celebrating on the sideline, let's go, she's saying to her team. Definitely lifting up the energy. We'll see if that can carry them into this next point. We've got Blueberries starting on offense.
Rita Milmore giving Nexus a 2-1 lead. A point against the wind always helps. It's going to be more of a break today than ever before.
Fresh legs on this line. We're seeing almost entirely a new line from Nexus. I think Lynch has stayed on. Apart from that, good to see the team really refreshing availability, refreshing using everyone who's on the sideline. This could be a really intense game for both teams, but good to see both teams really playing their depth. Blueberries coming down on offense. Nexus with them maintaining the match defense. Coral Huang. We've got Kate Charlesworth on the sideline. Back to Armstrong in the middle. Throwing the fakes and dishing to Huang. Such an experienced line of handlers here on the Blueberries. Bubble disc, saving the hands of Melody Young.
About the second effort there. Not letting possession go.
Sorry, now Coral Huang. Moving her mark there with those fakes. Looks like Samantha Rollman hungry for that.
Great catch.
Oh, great grab, yeah. Oh, but there's a foul. Looks like it was a stall out. Again, Samantha Rollman on the mark there, looking like she was hungry for that hand block. Coral Huang, trying to move her around with those fakes. We'll see what happens after discussion. So, given that there was a foul on the field, Ultimate Frisbee is a non-refereed sport. Both players must come to agreement. Was that foul? A stall out, no contest.
Still called just as it was thrown as well.
So Nexus right away with undercuts out of the stack. Looks like Nexus is playing a classic vertical stack right now. Pickering down to Judd. Judd looking for options to continue on the break side, and there's another hand block. Blueberries are hungry for these hand blocks today. They've come out to make some Frisbee cobbler. Along with the disc, we're seeing Rollman again. She's hungry for that hand block too. Really putting the pressure on and hitting it down for the D.
Blueberries are just looking to do their best to reset. Just didn't have the opportunity to get through the defense effectively.
Rollman now with the disc. Back to Parsons, looking for Lynch in the end zone. Oh, and she's not loving that drop. She might be thinking about that later tonight.
She did very well. It looked like she was definitely going to overrun it. And the fact that she even got a hand to it was almost impressive.
Rebecca Lynch can definitely climb the ladder. She's got some insane hops when she needs them.
Very good adjustment, just
but a bit of a complicated catch to make there. Armstrong with the disc. To Huang. Really awesome to see Blueberries, as I mentioned in the beginning. They're using the whole field here. Not afraid to find the open player and trust. There's so much trust across this team. Seeing the open player and passing it to them. Threading the needle. Huang can't hold on to it. Parsons with the disc. in a power position right now. Nexus looking to turn it into a point. One pass could be a point for them. Rebecca Lynch striking up line. And there's a pick called. Things have been looking a little bit messy there. Frisbee, of course, is a non-contact sport. If as a defensive player you can't follow or play defense against the person who's the offender, if you need to run through someone or make contact, a pick is called. Lynch with the disc, looking for an around. Looks like she's got a few players on her. She opens it up for the point for Nexus.
It's cleared the space effectively, allowed for it cut right into it.
Great point for Nexus. You know, when there's so much happening around the disc there, when there's so much pressure and there's so much defense, what you do as a handler, as an experienced handler, we're seeing Rebecca Lynch, she's just opening up the field. You just throw around them. There's so much happening in that space.
I do think the pick call actually really helped them because it gave them a couple of seconds to think and consider their strategy afterwards.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, just looking at the way they just limited the availability of space so that they had two separate cuts that looked like they were going to run directly into that back end of the end zone. They managed to get perfectly, easy point.
And we've got Stacey May there, no doubt pleased about reeling that in. She's another up-and-coming talent on the team. She played with the New Zealand U20 women's team, representing New Zealand on the world stage. And great also to see clubs like Nexus really fostering that young talent and giving them opportunities to show their stuff at the national level, the Division I National Championships. We've got a timeout now. Both teams are chatting. We can see Coach Christine Moore there with the Blueberries discussing, you know, what she wants to see from the team. What do you think? What do you think she wants to see? What is she saying to her team right now?
It looked like direction in the sense that they're just trying to force passes to a specific zone. They have been doing very well on the mark. And they have gotten a couple of really key hand blocks, but they just haven't been able to capitalize afterwards. And in essence now, they've lost a point against the wind, which they'll now have to make back. And taking your time out here, try and get a bit of momentum, try and salvage this match, very important.
We've got laughter from Nexus there. Looks like, you know, they're a few points up. They're keeping things light though. Nice to see, despite any pressure, it looks like they're not feeling any of it. Fun cheer from Blueberries. Smiles from Melody Young coming out of the circle as well. I don't think I've ever seen Melody Young not smiling though. A formidable opponent, terrifying on the field, but so happens to be such a lovely human, lovely person as well. Waiting for Nexus to cheer, all smiles as well. But definitely bringing the intensity. So here we have Nexus coming out on defense. Mara Neal once again picking up the disc.
With the wind dying down, they'll be looking to get a quick turn, a quick score, I would think. Just lost about say 10 kilometers an hour in pace.
It has done. I mean, classic New Zealand. We'll see about the weather. It does change. Wind can gust right up. It can drop down. For the moment, though, we're feeling less winds. A little bit gusty, but we'll see how that impacts the play. Mammoth huck up from Neal to Emma Menzies with the disc as the central handler. Oh. Lots of noise from the sideline. Both teams really supporting players on the field, letting them know what's happening, where people are. Maybe a bit of pressure on defense, forcing that turnover. Just a turfed pass to an undercut. And Nexus off to the races with the passes right away. Quick flow, quick movement.
Cortez back to Neil.
It looks like Blueberries are playing a bit of a transition zone here. Starting on offense, but transitioning, you know, they've discussed how to set up into a zone to help, you know, put a cork, slow the leak, you know, slow down the passes. Not the case for Neil, though. Throwing it to Ryan Mildenhall's safe hands, as I mentioned. To O'Connor, back to Rebecca Neal. And you know, one thing, these are such strong players, at least such strong handlers here on Nexus, throwing into each other, making these decisions. Another thing, not just the skill and the experience, but also I want to comment on the mental resilience. It's a mentally strong team. You see them out there, and the mistakes they make, they're there. Every team makes mistakes, but it takes longer. They've got a lot of mental resilience to push through that, and you see that with experienced players, experienced teams.
It's also a case that they've got several players who can put this team on their back in order for them to really regain momentum whenever they lose them. That's why they were so strong in the prior years, the Ultimate Championships. It's good pressure, but looks like it could well be foul.
It's like she was thinking, but no call. And you know that Blueberry zone really is. It's slowing the passes. It's slowing everything down to a drip. Really putting a lot of pressure, especially in the handler space, for Nexus to slow things down. Nexus now on defense. Oh, what a swing pass. Moving the disc to the high side of the field, launching a huck. But once again, it's a bit too far for the Blueberries receivers.
Nice territory gainer, if nothing else.
Neil finding her sister to Neil, swinging to the low side of the field.
Going back to Botez.
Botus looking for the option. Slightly trapped here. It's a hard clam they're setting. Really pinching in. Opening up. Oh, a lot of pressure on that catch.
A lot of pressure on the throw.
Oh, and moving the mark to open it up downfield. Ken Bogatsky, she cannot reel it in. That was well out of bounds.
Just so as though that if you can jailbreak this tight clamp of a defense.
Well described, yeah, as a tight clamp. Impressive pressure they're putting around the disc, especially on the low side of the field. On turfed with the first throw. Mara Neal with the disc again. We're seeing, this is characteristic, honestly, it's characteristic of the wind, isn't it? When the wind is on the field, you often see high turnovers from both teams. It's a bit uncharacteristic.
I think neither team has really had control over the momentum of the wind. They both have either tried to go too quickly or go deep and be incredibly successful.
Look. So that's Lee with the catch. And now we've got Benzer looking for options, saying where are the downfield options? Nexus putting the pressure on defense. Yeah, looks like there was a bit of a bump there. Chow having none of it. She's calling that. She's stopping the play. Disc is back in. Oh, and Chow, what an around throw. Launched into space. Here's a case of trusting the receiver. And we've got a foul called. It looks like on Tan.
Wasn't going to be a clean catch, but those skybox competitions very rarely are.
Let's see a replay there.
A one-on-one bid rapidly becomes almost 2-on-2.
So it's up to the players on the field now, again, to discuss what they think happened. Nexus, no doubt, Forsyth arguing that she would have had a hand on it if she weren't bumped by Tan. I think Tan has a solid argument potentially as well, saying she didn't impact that final end of the catch. Of course, up to the players to decide what the outcome will be. I would say the good part to come out of this, looks like there was a bit of contact, but that no one was hurt. Always what we like to see. Even if there was a bit of contact, that things remained clean, injury-wise.
It's always ideal in a situation like that. We have seen a couple of cleats to the back of the heels in the last couple of games as well, which are never fun.
Looks like a contested foul on the field, which means the disc goes back to the thrower. That's Mara Neal picking it up again. The players, meanwhile, will go back into position where they were when the disc was released. Neal counting it in and immediately looking for the swing. Flies a bit
of
too far.
miscommunication on defense there.
Maybe. Bogatsky on the mark. Swinging passes from Menzies to Tan. Back to Menzies, launching it deep! It's a bit too far for Dolan. Oh, she wanted that point though.
It'd be interesting to see if Nexus try to work their way back up the field like they have been doing, or if they go for the huck, which has almost worked for them once or twice.
So this is exactly where Blueberries have been really impressively trapping. They've got a 4-person cup around the handlers over here, stopping the passes. Right now, we're seeing handlers Bodis and Neal just with the give and goes, finally opening that up to O'Connor and straight into the hands of Holly Mace. She knew exactly where to be to hit that down. Chow picking up the disc.
Now.
Bender with the disc. Swinging back to the middle, Tan. Launching it down, back to Bender. Finding Tan on the break side and putting it in to score the points.
Very quick pair of passes there. Blueberries coming out on top with this exchange.
And I think that's Chow that scored the point. Chow's such a strong player. She's got so much experience, and my favorite part is that she's fast. She's got a wide range, an arsenal of throws, and so quiet. She, easy to miss until she's scoring the point. Easy to miss until she's beaten you to the disc. Easy to miss until she's got the D. So lovely, and such a strong player, and keeping her head down until she's making that massive play to score the point or make the difference.
We can't underestimate the 4-person defense that Blueberries enforced right at the edge there. Holly Mace's turn. It's just set up that point to perfection. Blueberries now, essentially they're going to be almost on the attack trying to tie this up. Already 31 minutes in as well.
Fans from the sideline. Always good to see fans coming down. I think that's support from the sideline. Fans potentially coming down from Auckland. We've got players from all across the Motu, all across the country here. Love to see the homemade signs though. Emma Menzies with the pull.
Good distance, a little bit of roll.
Parsons looking for Bodis, fakes her off, goes with a throw. Easy give and go back to Parsons.
Holly Mace applying excellent pressure on the pull as well.
Definitely, that's half of it, right? Pulling the disc means nothing if the defense is not getting down there fast. Parsons launching it downfield into space. Not sure who she was aiming for there. Definitely a bit of a territorial move.
I think there were a couple of cuts that looked like they were going to go into that direction. They did have space and they did have 3 players downfield looking to almost fill that up. It looked like almost a bit of indecision there. I think it was on Roman's part.
Menzies throwing in some shoulder fakes. Pop pass that, you know, just defended down Mather there. Hot on the defense, saying not today. Parsons looking dumped to Lynch. Lynch back to Parsons. Looking for the option again on the open side. Parsons looks her off, goes with the option. And Pickering opening up that break side option.
Just doesn't hold on to it.
Region drop, hucking it deep. Oh, what a catch, guys! Oh.
Lily Bender coming up trumps there.
Yeah, I love to see it. And again, something I really like about Blueberries is the teamwork we see. You know, it's such a depth of team where there's so many players who can be pulling that out of their back pockets, throwing their body on the line, throwing those hucks up, laying out to keep the disc alive. Upwind swing is eaten up by the wind, still live until Roman finally hits it down. How many hands did it touch there?
4, I believe. That was impressive. Just kept floating up every time.
Lynch looking for options. Blueberries playing it's kind of a saggy zone around the cup there, offering those quick dumps, those easy dumps. And this is exactly what Blueberries is trying to force here. They're trying to force as many passes as possible, hoping that Nexus will make a mistake with one of those passes.
Which they get.
Oh, Chow looking for the deep option and opting for an upwind pass, opening things up to Ouija drop, looking for that same huck.
What positioning, Holly Mace again.
Oh, absolutely well put with the positioning. Holly Mace with the points.
Watched the disc all the way and knew exactly where it was going to land, stared at it.
Another exciting point. Just what we'd expect and just what I wanted to see. Oh, Ouija drop just opening up the field, huck after huck. Oh, that catch. Just what I was hoping to see, you know, what we expect to see. 2 top women's clubs teams here in Aotearoa, New Zealand, going, you know, matching neck and neck. Blueberries bringing the score up to 3-3.
See Holly Mace on that catch, just cuts inside, predicts where the disc is going to go, gets past to match. It's a great throw from Windorf as well. Back to level peggings. Nexus now, Coach Nick Panu just currently having a chat with the team.
Discussing maybe plans for what they want to do on offense. They might come out with a pull play. We'll see. We've got Blueberries on defense. Coral Huang with disc in hand, ready for the pull. Rebecca O'Leary, again, I'm sure having a fun game against her former team. Previously lived in Wellington and played with Nexus, and now transplant playing with Blueberries. Big run up from Huang, launching the disc downfield.
Floats along with the wind.
Oh, the wind has pushed it just too far.
Ended up taking it about almost 7.5 meters out of bounds.
Looks like Blueberries are coming in with their saggy handler defense. We've got Kate Charlesworth on the disc with Mara Neal picking up. Melody Young on the far side. Back to Neal with the disc. To Bodis. Back to Neal. Finding the open options. They're pushing past the loose wall that Blueberries have set up. Neil looking for options, opting for the open swings that they have available. Rebecca Neil looking for faking those hucks. Really active with the fakes. Neil looking at that downfield option. Mildenhall offering a nice swing downwind. Neil instead looking for the huck. Overthrowing downwind, trusting her downfield option. Armstrong, it's not getting past her with the D.
Great effort by Forsyth as well. There was a chance, she just didn't get there in time.
Leong, aka Miss L, with the swing to the high side. Charlesworth dumping back. Looks like there was a travel call on the throw. Rebecca Neal using hand signals, and there's a conversation about that. Maybe it was due to the change in direction or perceived change in direction. So Charlesworth was moving forward and then turned around to throw backward. So there may have been confusion about the established pivot foot. Checking in with the sidelines, it looks like.
It's a question about whether it was travel. Looked like she took a couple of extra steps after the catch initially. But I don't think that's what was called on.
And at this point, when there is a call like this, players on the field are welcome to engage sideline, ask best perspective potentially from other players on the field. Looks like the disc is coming back.
I believe contested that.
Neil weighing in here, Mara Neil weighing in. Offering her perspective. She is she's captain of the team, but also coaching the New Zealand U24s team. Has a lot of background playing internationally. One of the players that New Zealand sent representing Aotearoa New Zealand with the All-Stars Tour, the Asia Oceania All-Stars Tour. A lot of experience playing internationally and coaching and captaining as well. Solid understanding as well of rules and their implementation. Looks like the disc is in the hands of Coral Huang. A foot block fake from O'Connor. Huang gets the disc off to Armstrong. To the middle of the field to Melody Young. And the wind there, causing the disc to bounce off the hands of Armstrong, results in a turnover, disc in the hands of Mildenhall.
Now let's finds the Motes. Back to Neil.
Launching it to the high side.
Oh, he's going to control it. Forsyth there.
Yeah, jumps a bit too high. When is that an issue in Ultimate? Rarely. Huang looking for options. Defensive pressure leads to a turnover. Mara Neal with the disc. Oh, what a sweeping backhand. And O'Connor gets a bit turned around. O'Connor, such an athletic player. She can really turn on the jets when she needs to. Results in a turnover. Disc launched deep to Coral Huang. Handler streaking deep. I love to see that. She's showing the defense that they need to respect her in the handler space. They need to respect her in the deep space.
Blueberries have generally been excellent on defense after these deep huck turns.
Boda's looking for options. She's trapped again on this fearsome break side, the downwind side.
This is what they've capitalized on every time, the Blueberries.
Blueberries, yep, finding out what's worked well. Neil sneaking it through. Can they open it up? Or will this four-person cup keep them trapped? We've got Young jumping back, kind of putting pressure on that swing pass. So not only is it more difficult with the wind, but also there's a defensive player in the way.
You could just see the Neils as well, just discuss how they were going to get out of that little corner pocket they were trapped in. Mara saying to Becca that she wanted to go back inside, and that's what happened.
So we're seeing a lot of small passes, a lot of movements among the handlers, and again, Blueberries right now looks like a diamond kind of formation, a bit of a saggy handler defense. Arrowhead, sorry, formation. Saggy defense, putting pressure. Now Nexus has opened it up. But once again, the wind comes into play, and O'Connor can't keep a hold of the disc.
Just off the fingertips. Just keeps floating up in front of O'Connor. She's doing her best to get there.
Huang moving around the disc. Maranil with a run
coming out of
D.
nowhere.
Launches it. One more time, Rollman. High side of the field, and O'Connor makes up for it. Hugging the disc there. I love that.
I think she was desperate just to get a hold of it this time.
Love to see that too. Rollman with a background in basketball. Looks like a bit of a dunk at the end with the pass. So Nexus really struggling against the zone when they've been trapped on that break side, but here they have opened up to the high side of the field.
I think the one problem the Blueberries have had with this defense is they are only leaving one player high, right in deep of the end zone. So that means that essentially you can have two players cutting across either side. You're given an option where the deep safety has to pick a player and to defend. And if they pick the wrong player and they don't anticipate just right, it's potentially a very deep huck they're going to lose out on.
And we can see Nexus finding that option here with Rollman, with great support followed by O'Connor.
Another timeout called. Both sides have fought really hard to get to where they are. We're already 45 minutes in, it's only 4-3.
It is a hard-fought game.
It's been some long points. Considering we were 2-1 up after 10 minutes, only been 4 more points coming in the next 30.
And that's something that you tend to see, of course, when it's windy. You tend to see long points, lots of turnovers, uncharacteristic drops, lots of trading possession. Nick Panu is coach that we see on the screen here. An experienced player, an experienced coach in his own right. Neil also chatting with the team about what they can be cleaning up, maybe how to break through that zone, how to crack open that cup. I think composure in the handler space, direction, as you've mentioned, with discussion between the handlers, between, as we saw, the Neal sisters, where they want to see each other, and kind of waiting for the right options to open up is how they've been getting through it, which they have been. Nonetheless, it's been a big damper on their play style. So you know, they're potentially discussing how to open that up a bit more and how to break that. Because until they figure that out, it makes sense that Blueberries will continue to throw it and continue to keep the pressure on.
Well, that type of defense enabled Blueberries to come back from a 2-point deficit. And it worked perfectly when they did get a turn. And quite often they got a turn deep in offensive territory. And they took a couple of throws to get into the end zone to score. In essence, they've got such skill at handling Nexus between the two Neils and Botes.
Lynch as well. Such experienced handlers in that space.
If anyone can crack that defense, it should be Nexus.
I'd love to hear the energy coming out of those cheers, those timeout cheers. In many other fields, this would likely be halftime, but not the case right now. So a very appropriate, timely timeout to call. Anyway, love the energy coming out of those cheers. I mentioned before, the team that's going to have the best movement in the wind, likely to come out on top. Love the pooches on the sideline. We've got not just humans supporting the teams, but dogs out here as well. Love to see the animal diversity, the animal life. Anyway, the team that's going to come out on top also, and this is, I think, across the sport, not just the team that's navigating the conditions the best, but also that brings the most energy to the field. The team that wants it more, you know, that's more hungry. Blueberries in the beginning, we're having those hand blocks, you know, block after block. We can see Parsons here has that energy. She wants to get going or potentially stay warm with the cold wind at her back. But that's something that both teams are really channeling with those cheers and bringing out into this post-timeout still in the first half.
I think both sides also want to get the activity of their cuts out and how often they actually perform them. A lot of times both sides have been stationary on offense, trying to look for a way through. And I think some of the deep players have almost lost a bit of confidence in their cuts, especially down towards the end of points of the long 10 minutes that we've had.
Rollman again putting pressure on that mark. One thing that I didn't consider that Nexus could have discussed is this zone that they're in right now. It looks like.
One deep.
Oh, but the wind once again, as the third team on the field, the defensive player, making life more difficult for them.
The throw had gone as fast as she wanted to, and there's a catch.
Young with the disc, passes to Pickering. Pickering winding up, and there we go, classic Lynch, climbing the staircase, looking to Young. Can't pull it in, but what beautiful connections there were.
Great one-handed catch by Lynch, and an attempt to move it on as quickly as she could.
Armstrong with the disc. Nexus in the zone they've been playing. I love to see these marks. Rollman, such a strong mark. As I mentioned, Ollie Judd, I'm curious if we'll see a hand block out of her today. Challenging when you have the talented throwers of the Blueberries. Also with the fakes opening it up, but Judd notorious for getting a hand on the disc. Throws it wide, aiming for Coral Huang. That is a tough catch to make though.
Roll the disc, the Blueberries will be very happy about.
Parsons chasing it down to hopefully prevent it from going too far down the field. Rollman with a clean undercut. Long looking for the inside. Oh, covering the inside, sorry. Parsons not with a few options. She hucks it deep to try to gain territory.
Sometimes a tip is not enough, especially this wind just taking the disc up into the air so often.
Yeah, Melody Huang trying to bat it down. Instead, it flies up.
A little bit of a scramble at the end there. Thankfully, it was going safely out of bounds.
Shot him with a huge block!
Amazing mark.
I'm sorry, team. I'm gonna claim that. I was waiting for her to do that, and I must stay humble. It's absolutely happened to me as well. Judd on the mark. You have to watch out. Rollman looking for that. Pickering in space. Whoa, what a beautiful cut that was. Looks off.
Passes back out to Lynch.
And now Nexus trying to center it, but Rollman, Twinkle toesing it into the end zone. With a background in basketball, she does have fantastic footwork.
Also coming with that basketball is awareness of your positioning. Nexus taking a 5-3 lead, a good advantage once again. Parsons looked inside a few times, didn't find what she was looking for. Went back out to Lynch.
Really, they're the vision from Lynch as well. She's looking for the around as Parsons was expecting. You want to be looking to center of the disc. Consistently in the end zone, we've seen Blueberries poaching into space, making it really hectic around the disc. And as a handler, what you're trying to do if you're seeing that is you're trying to open it up. Bogatsky also in the end zone, creating space, and that's challenging when it's really windy. We see Nexus players here on the sideline inspecting the disc that Judd just D'd, seeing if it's been tacoed, as we like to say, or unfit for play. Judge flexing, Nexus flexing us, showing the strong arms that may have tacoed the disc. And confirms that it is done, so they're playing with a new disc now.
Judd attempting to be a part of the Flexus team, I think.
That puts Nexus Affinity at 5, Blueberries at 3. Lamar and Neil with the disc, ready for the pull. I love the Blueberries sign. We've got the fan squad on the sideline, bringing the energy, bringing the hype for Blueberries to put some points into the end zone. Nice movement right off the bat. Swinging with 4 handlers back, or maybe O'Leary here poaching back as a wing. Such good movement here. I'm loving them, seeing them spread the length of the field despite the wind, making it look as if it's not even there. Difficult to see, of course, on the screen. Region drop to Menzies. Faking the hammer, slicing through that cup. Beautiful flowing offense from Blueberries right now.
Windorp now.
Bringing the energy and the clean passes to O'Leary on the high side. And that's great to see too, continuing that pass when you're on the high side. You want to try to stay up there if possible. So looking for the continuation passes up there. Who else is open? How can we keep the disc up here as opposed to moving it back down to the low side of the field? Of course, with a player like Menzies and the throws, you know, her ability to open things up, it's a bit less scary to be trapped on the end zone. Region drop with an inside out forehand, floats into Leary's hands downfield. You know, we're just focusing here. I've just been chatting about unfortunate miscommunication when it carries that it's a turnover, but there was a zone there also that Nexus was playing. Just too easy to focus on the beautiful zone O and those clean passes that Blueberries had. Neil with the pass to Lynch. Back to Neil. Neil pointing, directing the field where she wants to see people. Milton Hall with a disc, popping back to Neil. Becca Neal puts it just too far upfield for Lynch to reel in. Berries are getting set up while Nexus from the sidelines shouting set, indicating that they're setting a zone.
Oh, O'Leary and Windorp just don't communicate effectively there.
Maybe a bit of miscommunication. Also something that a zone can really mess up, you know, just riding for heat.
It's a good little pressure there by Menzies, just doesn't come up with a day.
An unfortunate bobble from Sarah Bowen.
Although Menzies once again, just a couple of steps behind, just maybe letting her think too much.
And you know, we'll be seeing a showcase game later on in the tournament. I believe it's on Saturday night. Part of this showcase game is that every team sends their top 2 players from the team. And watching a team like Blueberries play here, you wonder about the top 2 players, seeing the way they're using every player on the field, you know, seeing what the depth of the roster, seeing the throws, you know, the way they're using everyone. Menzies on fire right now though, launching it with an upwind backhand cross field.
Holly Mace almost in.
Wheeled in by Holly Mace. Looking
Back
for
to
the reset to O'Leary. But Neil is there to shut things down.
Windorp back to
the
Menzies.
Anyway, difficult with Blueberries to say top 2 players, you know, when there's such depth on the team.
Oh, what great second effort.
Such talent to chase discs down. And that's one thing I really enjoy when I watch them play. Weejan drop, finding O'Leary, who lays out to try to bring it back.
She almost celebrated too early there. It looked like it was going right to the breadbasket.
But what a privilege to watch that possession. Nexus back at it. Becca Neal working confidently with Nara Neal, Zara Bowen in the handler space. Trying to gain territory, but easy to do. Easy to launch it deep when you have someone like Raya Mildenhall there to catch it. Bit of miscommunication with Lynch there.
Almost 2-on-1 look easy though. It's not able to capitalize. Windorp now. Back to Menzies.
Swinging it to Chow.
Tan now looking deep. Bit of a
Neil
hope
knows
there.
where to be in that space. To nom up that deep throw. Throwing a hammer, and the wind carries it OB. Her sister, potentially Becca, was looking for it. Oh, it was a bit too far to be a greatest. Chased it down nonetheless. Regin Dorp with her signature inside-out forehands. High energy from the sideline from Nexus, really providing the feedback for the zone defense, telling them where they need to be. Blueberries moving the disc quickly, which can be really helpful in breaking a zone.
Well tracked there.
Tan to Regin Dorp. Again, that sideline can be so beneficial in a zone. In directing players, telling them where the danger spots are, telling them where the handlers are looking, how to shut things down. It's really a practice in endurance, potentially mental endurance. Lynch going for the D and cleans it up.
It gets on the second attempt technically.
Oh, Neil to Neil.
Just trying to move it a bit too fast there.
We're seeing a few more errors from Nexus right now. Neil in the air, D's that pass to Lynch. Lynch to Bowen. Great passing here. Nexus patiently waiting for the options to open up. Moving the mark around with some nice fakes. And that's Mari Neal making the pass, you know, that Nexus needs. It's always that opening pass that unlocks things and creates that movement that the team needs to move things around. And it was just a bit short for Mildenhall as the receiver there.
I also think they're just trying to avoid being pressured when they do something like that. Neil had Lynch and Forsyth to her left and right, and decided to go deeper instead of just going backwards and forwards, just to avoid, I think, that pressure that Blueberries has shown so well when a mark goes into the corner. And he's going deep, but Neil covers it perfectly.
Mara Neal manages to be everywhere in that deep space. Nexus on the high side of the field. In a privileged position where there's a lot more options. Pop pass downfield and the wind drops it to the ground. We're hearing keep working from the sideline. Again, with such a low score, you know, neck and neck. People out here running, you know, without a break for a while. It can really be grinding. As I was mentioning, endurance, mental endurance, when you're keeping the defensive pressure on, when you're repeating those passes as a handler, that's everything. But also physically, of course, out here, just running through, grinding through.
Oh, great bit.
Dan just showing us again and again how to lay out. Gets to be a bit much, results in a turnover, and Nexus is right back at it. Looking for Mildenhall deep. She runs it into the end zone. Mildenhall, in her free time, she's a doctor. You can tell she's studied because she knows how to read incredibly well. That woman is literate as heck.
It really felt like the Blueberries offense was going to come away with something there. They were running some excellent slants. O'Leary, Menzies, both running despite the tired legs, obviously. That point went on forever.
Love to hear that energy from the sideline. Keep going, keep going. You know, when you feel like your legs are failing you, you're getting tired, you're feeling a bit puffed, that energy from the sideline from your teammates can keep it going. You know, keeping that energy intense, keeping it alive. Or fans from the sideline with homemade signs.
I have to wonder if this is the Division 2 Blueberries team coming early, preparing for tomorrow.
Could be. Team supporting team. Lynch walking off the field, applauding her team, bringing that energy alive for them as well. We've got Tara O'Connor with disc in hand, ready to the pull. She's passed to Parsons, who will be taking it instead. Launching it downfield. Blueberries starting this point offensively. Armstrong to pick up. Swinging it to Huang. Trying to get it on the high side. Nexus has an opportunity now. Rollman to Judd. Oh, and Judd's trying to keep it on the high side. She fires a laser to Bogatsky.
Trying to thread the needle on the edge.
Trying to thread the needle. Huang swinging the disc to Lam. Back to Huang. Classic, you know, textbook Blueberries flow. Blueberry custard, soft serve.
It's that Volvolov mixing from side to side.
Armstrong with the pop pass. Love this quick movement here. They're finding the open player. Huang wants that deep look. She wants to huck it. Passes to Leong. Armstrong.
Oh, just too
Threading
low.
the needle in the middle, and once again, last possession, it was Nexus that it couldn't quite get the thread through. This time it's Blueberries. Rollman in the field with the disc. Finding Pickering.
Vertical stack going here from Nexus.
Finding Bodis. Throwing an inside out to Judd. What is the wind here? Bodis says. I've got every book in my hand, every throw in the book, it's still there. Parsons. Looking for Bodis on the strike, and what a low release. Pickering lays it out on the line. Oh, and she's calling an injury. You know, you have to respect that quick transition. Melody, she wanted to make that throw. Pickering knew right away, though. And she did call it before the throw. So if play stops, if people stop playing, if it impacted the play, you know, you have to go back to when the call was made. Look at that low release. Really necessary in the wind. What a great throw, but just a bit too far for Pickering.
Thankfully, Pickering looks okay.
On the mark, Young looking to repeat what just happened. Unsuccessful. Parsons picks up. Nexus moving the disc to the high side of the field with O'Connor back to Parsons, back to O'Connor. Looking for the forehand swing, can't convert. Armstrong picking up the disc. And Blueberries is right back at it. Beautiful swings up to the high side of the field. But Judd just in place to contest that. Now she's trying to defend that deep look. Armstrong is there.
Working hard.
Ready to pick it up for Blueberries' next chance at converting a point. Young finding Armstrong again. Rollman is everywhere on that mark. Looking to repeat what just happened with Judd. A Ollie Judd classic. Known affectionately as Smalley. She's trying to get deep to defend Charlesworth, but Charlesworth is everywhere. She's underneath the disc, toes that in bounds. To Young, swinging into Armstrong. Again, Blueberries having no problem swinging the disc upwind. Looking for a massive outside it around to Young in the end zone as a safe point.
Blueberries found a lot of success using their flanks there. It's getting little tiny breaks just up the side by about 10 or so meters, and then readjusting and looking to go back into the center and up the other side. But what really worked out was that big huck down deep. There's great tracking by Charlesworth.
Great by
Oh, what a
Charles.
toe tap.
That awareness of looking at the disc, knowing where the disc is, seeing it safely into your hands, while also being aware of where your feet are. Not an issue for Young, who is completely in bounds. Never questioning that point. Big celebratory smile on her face. Blueberries now to come out on defense. We have Menzies with the disc discussing what I imagine will be the classic four-person cup, the chase with the wall, otherwise known as the puppy, the rabbit, the one who does the running with the wall behind it that's been shutting down, just slowing things down for Nexus, making it a little bit more difficult for their handlers who've been beating down the door, the Neal sisters, Parsons, Lynch, Bodis in that handler space. Menzies backs up. She's going to wind up to launch what will be, no doubt, a massive pull. Will this one land in bounds? The wind has its way with it once again. You know, I'd like to see if we see an inbounds pull from that side of the field for the rest of the game. It would be cool.
We've seen one that went about 7.5 meters. That one I would suggest it goes 15 meters out of bounds.
Parsons
About double the distance.
puts her hands up, indicating that she's bricking the disc, taking the disc that is to the brick mark, where it says a point that's indicated in the middle of the field where they can begin play. Looking right away to get the disc to the high side, to Lynch. And interestingly, Nexus here, they've got 4 handlers back. They've brought Zara Bowen back into the handler space as well. Over the top to Neal. And that's potentially to break through this zone, you know, when there's a lot of pressure around the handlers, you give more options.
Transforming what was a 4-on-3 into a 4-on-4.
And it looks like it's working well for them.
It's carving right through the center of it.
Yep, that may be what Nexus needed to unlock it.
Lynch, little dink take over the top.
Having
Parsons now.
no issue finding the open players.
Well corralled by Bowen. Back out to Neal. Turns the 1-2 to Bowen.
Beautiful upwind swing there. Lynch looking for the options. Bowen running this handler space right now. Looking for the strike cuts. Lynch passes back to Parsons. They're hungry for it, but a drill team like Nexus, you know, isn't going to misfire. They're going to find that player. Rolman stacking up the stats. Big smile on her face. And high fives with Blueberries as well, which is another thing I love to see.
Throw landing just on top of Roman there, just at that little high point where she could reach up and get it.
Lynch faking the scooper. I love the smile on Lynch's face. She's just wanting to reel it in. Roman does the honors. And good on everyone in that space, too, of keeping it clean. Despite the fact that there was pressure on that throw, pressure on the catch, there wasn't any contact made.
Dolan Menzies were positioned correctly. They just weren't able to get themselves to it properly. And that is entirely on the throw by Parsons.
The score now 7-4. Nexus Affinity in the lead. Making jokes, of course, about Nexus Flexus, the sister team. We've got another friend here who's on a walk, but maybe wishes that she was supporting Women's Ultimate again. The good girl running around the background, wanting to chase the dog, but maybe preferring it was a Frisbee. More fans on the sideline. Mara Neal with the pull.
Is this one out of the back? No, it's in.
What
it's
a
in.
pull that is! Wow. Answer to my request. Some great fakes. Once again, classic Blueberries movement, easy across the field, just finding the open players. Iris Lee running it right now.
Pickering trying to undercut Charlesworth there.
Whitlock moving the disc with teammates. Armstrong, Long, launching it downfield. Bit of a bid to try to reel it in, but not quite there. Bodis and Neal.
Jay Ling was wide open deep there. Just couldn't adjust.
Forsyth faking the backhand. Popping to Mara Neal.
Bit of a
Pickering
harsh
can't
one for
hold on
Pickering to
to it.
catch. Bit of a laser.
Blueberries are excited about this. We're hearing the shouts from the sideline. Huang looking for that downfield to Whitlock to Armstrong, launching it. Beautiful catch by Matthews.
Set up perfectly for her, and that's great D.
A bit of congestion in that space.
Look at Neal running deep.
Neal off to the races! She's chasing it, but the wind knocks it out.
It looked like she actually gave up and didn't know it was thrown. Had to readjust very quickly. It was probably a bit too deep for her anyways. That's a great block there.
I love to see that from both teams. I'm not sure if in this tournament we've seen this many hand blocks thus far, but really a lot of pressure. Upwind hammer! Bogatsky says not today. Bodis finds the inside. Great inside out throw from Neal.
Butters with a great cut to get there.
Swinging upwind to O'Connor. O'Connor with the scuba!
Looking for Forsyth.
Oh, unfortunately, two scoobers in a row. Two
Little too
scoobers
tall.
unsuccessful.
A little too tall.
And another quick turnover gives Nexus the chance. Neal looking to convert this into a point. Can they do it?
Back to Botes.
Blueberries has anything to say, it's not today. Bodis looking for the connection, engaging her reset. And Neal lays it on the ground, but can't get her fingers beneath the disc.
3 passes that only work if you've got great chemistry. They do have great chemistry, it just didn't come to hand this time.
Yes. Huang swinging upfield. What fakes, what movements from Iris Lee. Charlesworth finding the open reset. Back to Charlesworth, looking off Whitlock to Armstrong.
The Blueberries have to realize that there's 5 players hanging around the disc. If they can just break out of it.
And that's the key, isn't it? Breaking out of it. Whitlock may have done that. Now to Armstrong. Nexus catching up, and they've reset. Armstrong threading through.
Just can't reel it in. Jay Ling is quite the presence downfield today.
Neal putting power into that flick hook. Bogatsky looking for it.
There's definitely contact there, I
Armstrong
think.
made a bit of contact there.
It was always going to be a tight contest. They were both going hard the disc.
Bogatsky implying that she would have made the catch if Armstrong hadn't made contact. Armstrong laughing along, saying, I think you're right. Upwind swing. Looking for the point there. Bodis in position. Nice celebratory. We're seeing arms in the air as players run on the field.
Halftime.
And halftime. And what a hard-fought half that was.
Only 75 minutes in.
We'll see. I'm not sure if we'll be playing a full game. Maybe it's still premature to make that prediction.
Look at that fake by Neal.
Any closing thoughts before we sign off for the half?
The Blueberries are fighting well. They're doing everything correctly. It's just things aren't going to hand. They're not playing the win as well as they would like. Some of the downfield plays that they want to make just aren't coming off. some of the decisions are definitely going to, and this is some of the testing as well that we're going to give Nexus here. It's going to come in handy later in the tournament, especially if these two meet each other in a final again.
Kia ora koutou, and welcome back to the second half of this matchup. Fiery, intense matchup between Blueberries and Nexus. Blueberries hailing from Auckland in white, pulling the disc now. Nexus in blue, receiving from Wellington. My name is Kelsey Bielik.
And I'm Richard Harris, and we are back live, almost at soft cap, with the wind picking up again as the gazebo shakes around us.
Both teams fighting through this wind. We've seen in the first half, Blueberries throwing on an clamp tight, intense zone, really locking the disc on the break side, on the low side of the field, which Nexus handlers have been working to unlock, working to fight through, eventually bringing 4 back. Nexus, in the meantime, still making those connections, finding the open players, playing the chilly, calm, collected ultimate they're known for. Blueberries on offense, really using every player, showing the depth of their team, the athleticism with some great layouts, and putting the pressure on. We've got a bobble from Roman, giving Blueberries the chance on offense to see if they can turn this into a point.
Nexus have been led today by their excellent handling, Cole. They've been fairly solid at breaking through the Blueberries defense, despite it working excellently at times. Just little bobbles caused by the wind as the game winds down.
Lynch
Great pass.
Looking for O'Leary in the end zone, slicing it through the air. High fives all around.
O'Connor there picking up an easy score. She's been a presence in the end zone all day today.
And if you like what you see, we've had a few technical issues. If you want to help us clean those up in the future, if you like what you see and you want to say thank you for all the hard work that's going on behind the scenes from ULTI.TV, who are making this happen and providing this live stream, head over to patreon.com/ULTI.TV and toss a little spare change if you like what you're seeing, if you want to help continue that to grow.
Shout out to ULTI.TV today. I think they've faced basically every technical issue in the books, none of their fault. They've done excellently to pick us up for the last couple of games, and it should be excellent in the future.
Now we're seeing some fans from all across the Motsu, potentially internationally. There's some Wellington fans from the Opens division here to support their teammates on Nexus, the women's club. We've seen on the far side the big sign, the Go Blueberries. Some fans potentially from the Division 2 Blueberries team supporting their teammates, and of course the furry friends who've been running around the field. One of my favorite parts of this game as well, not to mention the amazing ultimate from these Wahine Toa strong women out on the field. Charlesworth with the disc. And a strong mark.
It's great defense there by Judd. Back to Pickering, who's recovered from an injury earlier today.
Parsons looking for the option, swinging to Neil. Finding Rollman downfield. Roman waiting for the options to show up. Judd coming all the way back into the handler's space to collect the disc. And interestingly, Nexus really kind of playing small ball here. They're throwing primarily to undercuts. There's not a lot that's happening in the deep space. That, or it could be that Blueberries are really effectively shutting that down. But really primarily looking for the resets. They're looking for the unders and the vertical stack that they're running out of. It's a bit too far for Mara to reel in despite laying out on the ground. And Blueberries pick up the disc. Armstrong. Her inside out goes a bit too far, and Nexus has another chance. Becca Neal picking up.
Looking short for Parsons. Parsons looking for Pickering, finds her.
Pickering finding Neal, who's cutting now. Previously as a handler, Parsons launching it to find Rollman.
It's great positioning there.
But Lamb in the way. She's saying, not today.
Lamb focused on the disc there, not the player. Armstrong just following it excellent.
Great movement, launching deep.
Matthews there.
Bit out of position, couldn't reel it in. A consistent theme that both teams have been facing today. Neal looking for her sister Mara Neal. And Ollie, versatile not just on the mark, but also reeling in any rogue throws. Parsons hits Rollman coming in for the under.
He's creating the stack Nexus. Parsons point exactly where she wanted disc, and that's where she got it.
Pickering comes back for the dump swing. And again, we're seeing a lot of undercuts. Primarily, I think that's due to the wind that's coming in the direction. Nexus having no issue making those clean, short passes. But when it comes to stretching up the field, there's a bit more risk in throwing it farther. What a break throw to Rollman. Blueberries, interestingly, forcing upwards. They're forcing to the high side, which, while it provides good positioning for Nexus, is also more challenging to throw to the high side. It's difficult to move the Frisbee upwind. Doesn't seem to be an issue for Nexus. Maybe force middle.
Looked like Pickering got a step downfield.
Neal looking for Judd deep, but the wind just pushes the disc down. Judd, as we know, not afraid to throw her body out onto the turf to clean it up, as we can see right there, and pop back up. That one was a bit too far for her. with the nickname Smalley, affectionately given Ollie Judd, nicknamed Smalley because she's anything but small when she needs to get big. Roman picks up. I think that's the mark of an experienced team, when you're not bogged down, when you can transition from offense to defense, when you can pick up the disc and just switch in your mind to what you need to do.
But I think it also says a lot about the defensive pressure. They're ready to counteract immediately. I knew it was coming, it was just a matter of when.
What a backhand upwind.
Was that in? It's a hard landing for both players. It's cold.
Great defensive pressure from Charlesworth, and great job to Roman too for keeping that clean. Looks like she dove over Charlesworth. Could have been a risk of stepping on her. Love to see that pressure more than anything. Love to see the result be injury-free.
I think soft cap has gone. I haven't heard the buzzer go, but I'm fairly sure it has gone.
Nexus Affinity with one more point on the board, taking the score to 10-4. And Nexus Affinity playing a strong game, consistent, intense, and with joy, which I really like to see. But it doesn't quite feel like there's that much separation. Blueberries have spent so much time swinging the disc and working, and I guess the result of why we're feeling that way is that they haven't been turning those into points, the long possessions, the patience into points.
In the end, Nexus has had a much better finishing ratio, and most often when they score in bursts. It's not a case of come one, come all. It's a case of they'll score once, then they'll score twice, then they'll score thrice, and then it's a bit of a break for about 20 minutes, and then that's where the fight actually occurs. And it's those long points that gets, I think the longer points have made it feel a lot more contested. The Blueberries have had moments where they've looked excellent.
There have been some long points. We've got Neil throwing it downfield, and that one was just out of bounds.
Just on the edge.
Menzies putting her hand up. She and Tan having a quick conversation to determine who would be picking it up, who would be centering it, taking it to the brick. Menzies jogging it back. I'd love to see this. Showing at the end of a long game with some long points. She's been really running a lot of the defensive, the defensive movement, but also the handler movement. She still has gas in the tank to run the disc back to the brick mark. She's not trying to run the clock down. She's here to, make things happen.
She's worked really well with all sorts of players. She's linked up well to Rebecca O'Leary and Lily Bender.
Great movement. Blueberries with their 4 handlers back. Just not enough touch on that disc for Wiesendorp. Botus launches it.
Oh, it's a take.
Mildenhall, unsurprisingly, cleans it up. She's good at that. Finding the space. Sticky fingers. Neil moves it up to the high side of the field. Great movement with Botus. Finding her sister in the end zone, Mara Neal with the points. Nexus Affinity taking it up one more point to make the score 11-4. And I think, I think that was the soft cap that we missed. We didn't hear the horn go, but that was it, and that was game.
If nothing else, these headphones are very insulating.
Well, thank you all for joining us today for this final game. A hot matchup between 2 powerhouse clubs of women's ultimate, Nexus versus Blueberries. This is Friday, the first day of the New Zealand Ultimate Frisbee Championships 2023. We'll be logging in tomorrow. Hopefully see you then. Until then, I'm Kelsey Bielik.
And I'm Richard Harris.
And we'll see you later. Ka kite.
ULTI.TV.